What up guys, it's your boy El Producer. Today we're going to be doing a Suzuki demo day. So let's get started. Alright guys, you know what time it is. Head into another demo day. This time it's Suzuki. Hopefully they'll let me film. I've been to other demo days, especially Yamaha, which I'm really disappointed. Every time I go to a Yamaha demo day, they don't allow me to film. Otherwise I would have provided my kind of first impressions of the new models. But yeah, today's going to be a Suzuki demo day. I definitely know what I want to ride, but these demo days have kind of been a circus lately. Back in the day when I was doing them, you know, word didn't really get out, but now they're just like super popular, and like slots get filled up really quick, and like you have to wait hours to just ride. Before I could fit in maybe 2 rides, I'd be lucky to get in like 1 at a decent time.
Alright guys, so my mic died totally during the recording of this test ride, which is unfortunate because I had a lot of thoughts on the Hayabusa here. But the show must go on, so here I'm recollecting my thoughts on that day of the test ride. I'm checking out the bike. Obviously the styling is the first thing that caught my eye. It's a throwback to the retro styling of the old Hayabusa, the legendary first and second gen Hayabusa. They didn't really change much of the styling. It's kind of actually a tribute to the first and second gen styling, because if you look at the first and second gen styling of the Hayabusa, it hasn't really changed much, and that design language is there for this. Actually, in my mind, it's the true second generation, but this is the third generation, and it's a new remodel. So as I'm getting on the bike right now, the first thing I usually do at demo days is test out the controls, just to see what everything does. Generally test out all the buttons, turn it on, turn the ignition, see if I can start the bike up. As you know, every bike is a little different. I've definitely been on demo rides where I've been a complete idiot. I don't even know how to start the bike. There's generally a sequence of buttons to press. So here I'm playing around, and as usual, I'm being a dumbass and asking the instructor, how do I do this? What I really wanted to test out is if the bike actually had power modes, because I wanted to make sure that I was in sport mode or A mode or whatever you call it. Because I know if you're riding in standard mode, at least in the R6, and I switch to A mode, it's like night and day. So being in sport mode is definitely a plus, and I want to feel the full power of this bike, even though it is a demo ride and you can't really get out of third gear. But here we're about to take off. Obviously, you know, the first movements of the Hayabusa, my first impressions is, you know, it's a Hayabusa. It's a heavy bike. You feel the weight underneath you. It's a hefty, solid bike. At the same time, it is not a very tall bike, which I actually appreciate. The feet, I can comfortably not flat foot the bike. I'm 5'8", but the balls of my feet are definitely comfortably planted on the ground. So I'm finally able to get a feel of the Hayabusa. The first thing that comes to mind is, how does this compare to the second gen 2019 that I rode? To be honest, not much has changed. The torque is there as I remembered. Obviously the weight is just, the tech is newer, the looks is newer. I definitely appreciate the dash. Again, if you look at the middle screen, and it's got a full TFT colored screen. The second gen, the 2019, it just looked like that bike from the 90s. It just has not changed at all, and this is just an updated version of it, which I love, because the Hayabusa is such a legend. And I mean, guys, this is the bike that, you know, I grew up idolizing. I mean, this bike was the shit, and in 2021 going to 2022, this bike to me is the shit. So one of the best things about the Hayabusa that I love is that it feels like a huge bike, like a huge big boy cruiser type touring bike, but it handles like a sport bike. The feeling is definitely, it's hard to explain, but it feels like you're on a big cruiser type bike, like a Harley or something. But a Harley is a really bad comparison because this is an inline 4-cylinder, which means it's smooth as butter. When compared to a Harley, a big V-twin that constantly vibrates and makes super loud, obnoxious noises, this Hayabusa is and runs like a well-oiled machine. Very smooth, good exhaust notes, and the sport bike handling characteristics. So as we come to a stop here, as you guys can see, I am comfortably on the balls of my feet, not tiptoeing. It's a very comfortable height, very manageable on the street. One thing I will say, going back, and I keep going back to the weight, is if you are backing this thing up like on a hill or whatever, good luck, because this thing weighs a shit ton. It's massive. The extended wheelbase and all that definitely helps with the stability of the bike. So here comes my favorite part of the demo ride. We actually hit some type of curve where I can really kind of feel the bike, and this is where the sport handling comes in, and then the power. This is definitely the highlight, that little turn there. Obviously it slows down a little bit, but here we have another turn, and man, just carving corners with this thing is very rewarding. I mean, this is barely a corner or anything, but it's some curve rather than just the local streets going straight. But I definitely had a little bit of fun. And as we are going onto the highway, we're going to do the first pull. Don't worry guys, I do shift in this video, unlike my first video where I got a lot of complaints about me not shifting the Hayabusa properly. The communication has been heard, so I definitely was shifting through the gears. But yeah guys, where this shines is actually on the highway. This thing wants to go fast, and the wind is not an issue with this bike. You can see the ergonomics. I definitely am lean forward a bit. It's not as aggressive as the R6 obviously, but it's definitely not an upright bike. You're definitely lean forward, but then you got the windscreen and you don't feel the wind. It's just like my R6. The fairings and the windscreen help protect you from the wind, and you just want to like go on a straight section of the highway and just rip it, because the confidence that this gives you on the highway, just to go like triple digits, is insane. Like, you feel very confident on this bike. It's very confident, inspiring. It's just because the extended wheelbase and the weight, and really no effect from the wind, makes you just want to really rip it. And steering feeling of this bike is great. It's got the sport bike handling characteristics. You don't need a steering dampener. Obviously, that is all subjective to getting your suspension set correctly to your height and weight. But the handlebars are very solid. It doesn't go back and forth. There's no head shake. It's just very stable, right? I can't say that for other bikes. Like, you hit a bump and some bikes, the handlebars start wobbling and stuff. This thing, just because of the weight and the front end, just feels so planted. That's why this bike is so legendary. It just gives me that feeling that this is like a beast of a bike. And because of the horsepower and the torque, like, you'll be cruising at like, I don't know what speeds, but the RPMs, as you can see, is very low, but you're just cruising, and like, you got power for days, right? So every gear has power. You don't have to wring its neck out for power on this bike. And the RPMs stay low, which means you know, the vibrations are at a minimum and everything is smooth. So that's why, you know, as a sport touring bike, if you can get over the kind of lean forward position on it, I mean, this is great because, you know, I'm actually comfortable on my R6. I can ride that all day with the one arm on the tank method. I can ride it all day, like, you know, straight. So that's not a problem for me. I know it could be a problem for others with pressure on the wrist, but, you know, I'm so used to sport bikes that, you know, this is the type of bike, you know, I wouldn't mind going cross country with, you know, packing on some saddlebags with it. It sounds crazy, but, you know, just the thrill of riding this bike, the power and the handling alone, you know, beats any type of adventure, you know, sport touring bike, at least for me. Just, you know, this thing is really fun to ride.